Okay, hello and welcome to follow this very quick video recording of the key issues related to our topic organizational structure and culture, which is also the topic for your second group work at HRM, Management 2017 Spring Course. So why we study structure and culture in organization is of course that we want to perform better. And we have to start and end with the idea that structure and culture definitely have an impact on everything we do in the company. How are people able to get the best out of them? How can we make sure that we have a right structure to do what we want to do in business, to react, proact to market conditions and so on. And we will look at a few alternative organizational structures, and then we will very briefly go through what the culture might be all about. And then in your group work, we will deep dive into a structure and culture of a certain company and tell us later on what did you find out. So structure is basically all about, as you can see here in the top of the diagram or schematic picture in here, how do we divide work? And we have a few basic models. One of them is relatively traditional hierarchical, up to bottom type of a chain of command, we can say, which is relatively vertical, many layers on top of each other, and always the higher level has authority over the lower level. What is very common in today's talk, at least, is that companies are looking for more and more horizontal structures, which means that they have flat hierarchies. There is a lot of information work moving on a horizontal level between the units without a clear we are higher than you or I am higher than you relationship. So it's about dividing the work and it's about coordinating the work. The culture then is a bit more difficult to explain. We will go into it. One very kind of an seasoned and experienced and high-level manager who was managing a stock-listed public company here in Finland once answered my question, what is culture all about? He said, well, it's the way we do things in here, but it has a bit more components than that. And why do we study structure then? Let's go backwards. We have to remember that all organizations have a structure and they have a culture. Sometimes they have it very open, they talk about it. Sometimes it's a bit more kind of a hidden. And there has been studies that really tell us that you should care about it. And the key word here is the context. Nobody can tell you what is exactly the perfect company structure. It's always dependent on in which business you are in which geographical market you might be in, and also it changes in time. So when the markets develop, when human behavior changes, when new generations come to workplace, all of a sudden the structures and cultures that seems to be good in the old world are not good anymore. So structure definitely has an impact on performance. Typically, when businesses grow, they start dividing the work into smaller and smaller pieces. They create a structure. In the beginning, it can be the startup team. We talk about startup companies. That is very tight, and everybody shares information with everybody because they are in the small same office. But then when the growth happens, you might having multiple locations, multiple departments, and then first of all, you need structure and you need coordination, but the flow of information may be hurt. And very often when organization is not showing good figures, we tend to think that there is something wrong in the structure. That's why companies seem to be all the time in a kind of a structural renovation process. By the way, in Finland, more than in any other country in the world, we are the world leaders in organizational structural renovations inside the company. So this is all based on the idea that you can have a better structure sometimes without changing other things like strategy or people within that structure. And of course, how do we divide the work? We can divide it, of course, into big entities like divisions. Then inside a division, we can have department, and then we can have people who have their own jobs. And everything is kind of based on the idea that what is this one unit, whether it's a division, department, daughter company, or an individual person, what are we expected to do? And we can do the division based on some internal things like areas of work. We have sales department, production department, and so on. Or we can divide it by external factors. We can have, for example, American division, Asian division, European division. Or it could be, for example, that if we are a big company like Toyota, we could have, for example, we could have the commercial vehicles. That would include the vans, the buses. I don't know if Toyota makes them, but anyway, trucks and so on. And then we have personal cars. Inside the personal cars, we can have hybrid cars, gasoline cars, and so on. So many opportunities really. And this is a typical example of a relatively small company that still is rather hierarchical. So as you can see, there are altogether something like 15 people in the company, but still there are 4 layers. So from the managing director, between the managing director and the administration assistant, there are 2 middle management layers. When we go into a big company, and for example, this is an aviation company. Somebody here, we have a flight operator or operator of some kind, and then we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 units, 6 levels only inside one factory. And you can imagine if it's a very big business, there are many factories, and above them there might be, for example, they could have an aviation unit, and then the same company could have other products, for example, or this could be the American unit that has many factories, and so there is the America director, and above him there can be the CEO. So very hierarchical, very typical still today, especially in the manufacturing industries. In today's world, we talk very often about new forms of work, and we talk about, for example, teams. It doesn't necessarily go this way like we have in number 4 in here, that there is only the board and then there are teams. Most often there is the CEO, and then we can have teams, like we can have production team, marketing team, sales team. The idea is that inside the team, people are really helping each other, as we have learned about teamwork, and they are kind of an equal. There still can be, for example, in here nominated a team leader or team coordinator. The big question, of course, is how does the information move between the teams? Are they isolated from each other? And one way people have, which is very common in today's world, is that how to make sure that the information flows. We have created matrix structures, which is very likely you will find it in front of you when you go into mainstream industries, in traditional industries or big companies. So now it's divided between 2 different principles. So it's not only like functions. So here we have the functions. We have production director, who's responsible for all production. We have a purchasing director responsible for all purchasing, buying in materials, inputs to our process. And we have a HRM director responsible for all human resource activity in the company. But then we also have another variable that is base for our division. So we have product division A. Let's take again, it could be BMW. Okay, the car you know, Bob Marley and the Wailers. Or Break My Window. No, in fact it's Bayerische Motorenwerke, Bayerisch motor factories, the car maker. So we could have the car division, and here is the motorcycle division. So now somebody is responsible that the good things done in the car making also are communicated to motorcycle making. But still, this same person who is responsible for the cars, he has the authority to both to production of the car division, but he also has the responsible for the purchasing and human resources inside the car division. Sounds perfect, because now both the product division's needs are taken in account and also the overall production is somehow coordinated. The problem, of course, is that if you are a production manager in the car unit, you are responsible for both your division manager and the overall production manager of the company. So there is dual reporting, two bosses potentially fighting for authority and power to say what needs to get done. The most common thing in today's big company organizations to replace the old hierarchical things. So, but you can also say there is even more hierarchy than there used to be. There is a lot of talk in today's world that there are some organizational for which are pretty mechanistic, and some are more organic, organic foods. So mechanistic idea is that it's hierarchical, tasks are very well defined, very well controlled, and the communication goes up and down. Whereas this organic, kind of a more natural way, some people say that it's more that tasks are common, knowledge is spreading widely, very often horizontally, and there is a commitment to goals rather than just obeying the rules. It's not always the best structure because it depends on your strategy. If you are going for the cost leadership, the industry is really so that the one who has the lowest prices will win. You have to, of course, take every slack out of your manufacturing processes and so on. And if you're looking for stability, functional structure, the old way might be good. If the industry is new, you are looking for differentiation in everything you do, flexibility, creativity. It might be better to have a network, team structure, or these new kind of a horizontal formats. And there is a very clear framework. If you have a very certain environment, you know what the market is, you know what the raw materials are, you know where the customers are, and so on, and you have a mechanistic structure, it might be a very correct fit, because then you can really focus on the cost improvements and optimizing your processes. The organic structure might be better suited for an uncertain situation, something new, or the industry is in the turmoil. So you are more flexible, you are more able to react. Culture you have studied widely, and you continue studying widely with Steve Crawford, so I don't go too much into it. Remember one thing, that culture develops when people work together and they develop a set of common beliefs. What works, how do we do, and then they transmit it, for example, to newcomers at the workplace. And the beliefs are about the mission of the whole company, the ways of achieving goal, and so on. And there is the schematic picture that you can study while you are preparing your second group work. And here is a brief list that you can keep in mind. What are the practices? How do we do things? How do people behave and interact with others? Are there some common values, some common beliefs inside the organization? Your second group work very shortly will be about find a company you have somehow a touch with, or you can get information about. Study what is their structure, study what is their culture, and see, do these two make a fit? And then deliver in your either presentation or written report your learnings to us, so we all learn more about structures and cultures. A reminder, those ones who did presentation in the beginning, in the first group work will now do a written report, and the other way around. Deadline 20th April for both. And you will find guidelines naturally in the assignments folder in Optima. Thank you.